Steelers fans, this is one of those weeks where the matchup isn't even the scariest part, it's the list. Because right before the Browns game, Pittsburgh just got hit with the kind of update that changes how you call the entire defensive plan, especially on the back end. James Pierre has been ruled out. And if you're thinking, okay, but he's not a headline starter, hear me out. Because this is the exact type of absence that becomes a problem in Cleveland in late December in a division game, when every snap is physical and every route is contested. Pierre isn't just a corner. He's one of those glue guys on the depth chart who quietly keeps everything stable when injuries start stacking. And right now, injuries are stacking. Let's start with what's actually going on with James Pierre. He's out with a calf injury, and the important detail isn't just the word calf, it's the pattern. He was limited earlier in the week and then he didn't practice Friday. That's the red flag. That's usually the moment the team realizes we can't risk the explosion and sprinting you need in a game, because corners don't get to play at 80%. A corner either can open up and run with NFL speed, or he's a target. And Pittsburgh's medical staff and coaching staff basically just told us with the ruling, he's not at the level where they can trust him in a game environment. Now, why is Pierre's absence a bigger deal than some people want to admit? Because cornerback depth isn't like depth at other positions. If you lose a receiver, you can adjust the route tree. If you lose a guard, you can slide protection. But if you lose corners, especially multiple corners, you don't just lose bodies. You lose matchups, you lose flexibility. You lose the ability to disguise coverages, to rotate late, to play aggressive at the sticks, to blitz safely. You start calling defenses not because they're the best defenses, but because they're the only ones you can run with who's healthy. And that brings us to the brutal part. James Pierre isn't the only one ruled out. The Steelers have 4 players ruled out for this Browns matchup: TJ Watt, Calvin Austin III, Brandon Echols, and James Pierre. That's the official list, and it's the combination that makes this feel like more than just another injury report. Let's quickly hit the other names, because they matter to the story of why Pierre being out is such a problem. First, Brandon Echols is also ruled out with a groin injury. Echols has been part of the slot and sub-package picture, and when you're playing teams in the AFC North, slot snaps aren't extra. They're the center of the fight. Groin injuries for defensive backs are nasty because everything a DB does is sudden. Plant, drive, open hips, accelerate, decelerate, redirect. If your groin isn't right, your technique falls apart. So Echols being out plus Pierre being out is not one corner down. It's the room taking a hit. Second, Calvin Austin III is ruled out with a hamstring injury. On offense, that means you're losing speed and stress. Austin's value isn't just catches, it's what defenses have to respect when he's in motion, when he's threatening the top of the coverage, when he's forcing a safety to widen or back off. Without that, the field shrinks a little. And in a gritty Browns-Steelers game, shrinking the field is not what you want. Third, the biggest name, TJ Watt, is ruled out again with the lung issue. And even though he practiced, the reporting has been pretty clear that this is about medical clearance, not effort. Watt being out removes the you can't breathe factor from the Steelers' pass rush. It means fewer panic throws, fewer busted protections, fewer of those drives where the opposing offense looks fine, and then suddenly everything collapses because Watt turned one snap into chaos. So now step back and look at what this creates. You've got the best pass rusher out, which means the quarterback has a better chance to hold the ball. You've got a key speed receiver out, which tightens your margin on offense. And you've got 2 corners out, including James Pierre, which forces you to rely harder on what's left. That's why Pierre's absence is critical. Because when pass rush drops even slightly, corners get exposed. Every defensive coordinator knows this. Coverage and pass rush are married. If you can't get home quickly, your DBs have to cover longer. If your DB depth is thin, you can't rotate. If you can't rotate, legs get heavy. When legs get heavy, you start grabbing jerseys. When you start grabbing jerseys, you get flags. And flags in Cleveland on the road can flip a whole half. And now let's talk about the Browns angle, because this is where it gets spicy. Cleveland at home, division game, late season, their entire mindset is make it ugly, make it physical, make it a survival contest. And weather can play a role too, with reports calling for rain and cool temperatures. That usually means more body contact, more contested throws, more earn it at the catch point. Exactly the kind of environment where corners need to be healthy, deep, and interchangeable. So what does Pittsburgh do? They add a body, a veteran body. Tree Flowers. The Steelers signed veteran cornerback Tree Flowers to the active roster ahead of this game, and that move tells you everything about how they view the Pierre Echols situation. They're not comfortable walking into Cleveland with the room as is. Flowers is insurance, experience, a stabilizer, not a magic fix, but a professional corner who has played real snaps in this league and won't be overwhelmed by the moment. And that's where we have to be smart about expectations. Tree Flowers helps, yes, because now you have another veteran who can line up, communicate, and execute the call without the defense falling into confusion. He can reduce the stress on everyone else by simply being in the right place. Sometimes that's the whole difference between bend but don't break and blown coverage touchdown. But Flowers doesn't erase what James Pierre being out actually means. Pierre's role is valuable because he fits the Steelers' identity: physical corner depth, special teams value, and the ability to step in without the whole system changing. He's one of those players where the coaches trust him to execute the technique and survive a tough assignment when injuries force your hand. When he's missing, the ripple is real. It means fewer options for sub-packages. It means less ability to match personnel cleanly. It means you can't freely rotate corners to stay fresh. It means guys who are healthy have to play more snaps. And in a rivalry game where Cleveland will test every weak spot, more snaps is not a small detail. It also changes how aggressive you can be. Because if your corner depth is thin, you don't want to call a defense that leaves your DBs isolated with no help. You start leaning toward more conservative coverages, more safety help. More zone eyes, which can be smart, but it can also give the offense easier completions underneath. And that's how you end up in those long Cleveland drives where they're not spectacular, but they're draining minutes, flipping field position, and forcing your offense to press. Now the part everyone asks next: when is James Pierre coming back? Here's the honest answer. The team has ruled him out for this Browns game, but there isn't a definitive public date where you can confidently say he'll be fully recovered by X day. Calf injuries are tricky because they vary. Some are mild strains where you're back in a week or two, and some linger because explosive sprinting is the last thing to return. And for a corner, sprinting is the job. If you want the realistic, ethical expectation, it's this: Pierre is likely in a week-to-week window. The fact he was limited earlier in the week suggests he's not completely shut down. The fact he went to a DNP on Friday suggests the team saw enough risk to stop the ramp-up. That usually points to, we're close but not close enough. The best-case scenario is he's back in the conversation next week. The worst-case scenario is the calf keeps reacting and it becomes a longer management situation. But right now, the only confirmed, factual piece is that he is out for Cleveland. So here's the final takeaway, the one that matters for the video and for the game. James Pierre being ruled out isn't the loudest headline on the injury report, but it might be one of the most dangerous, because it hits the exact area where AFC North games get decided. Coverage discipline, tackling on the perimeter, surviving third downs, and holding up when the pass rush doesn't instantly rescue you. And yes, Tree Flowers helps. It gives the Steelers another grown man in the room, another corner who can handle assignments and keep the defense from falling into chaos. But make no mistake, losing Pierre and Eccles at the same time while also missing Watt means Pittsburgh's margin for error just got tighter. Every miscommunication costs more. Every missed tackle feels bigger. Every extended play is more stressful. And in a Browns-Steelers game, stress is the whole point. Cleveland will try to drag the Steelers into the deep water and see who runs out of air first. So watch the first quarter closely. Watch how Pittsburgh protects the corners. Watch the safety help. Watch how often they play conservatively versus how often they trust the matchups. Because with James Pierre ruled out, the Steelers don't just lose a player, they lose a layer of protection. And in this rivalry, one layer can be the difference between surviving and getting exposed.